It's later than you think, or is it? Time, time. Scurrying about here on planet Earth, we get hung up on the time factor for everything from, is there enough time in the day to do all the things that I want to do? Is there enough time in a life to do all the things that I think I need to do? Or looking a little bit further afield to a star nebula, like the butterfly nebula behind me, that's hundreds or thousands or millions of light years across. Time. I think it was a song back along the way. Time keeps on shifting into the future. Or does it? Is it really that this next moment and the next moment and the next moment is not just an expansion of the now that we're living in? There is something to contemplate. Let's take a look at the chart for this week ahead. When I looked at it, I went, well, there's not really that much happening. I see I was playing with it. So today is Sunday. I'm sitting down to do this. So the moon is still doing its dance through Pisces. Matter of fact, today, the 10th, at around 1 o'clock this morning. And I've seen versions of this being, was that daylight savings time or was that standard time? Anyway, real early this morning, sun and the moon dance together, holding hands. You can't see the moon. Can you feel it? It is the moon after all. And the moon is about feelings, amongst other things. In the realm of dreams, there were some wild dreams last night. I'm not even going to get into them. They were just plain peculiar, wild, strange, entertaining. Oh yeah, for sure. So, as we proceed into this week, we get to Monday and the moon is, well, actually, yesterday, Mercury shifted into Aries. Our communication tool, I think I talked a little bit about this last week, said, this process of dreaming, Pisces, that I've been through and creating things with my imagination that don't have any kind of a limit aren't always easily expressed. Mercury in Pisces. Mercury comes into Aries on the same day that we have this new moon, setting the intention for what is it that this next lunar cycle is going to ask that my thoughts are going to drift into and through. Wow, right off the bat. We go to, let's see, we got 6 degrees, so that during that very same day, today actually, Sunday, the moon drifts into Aries, as did Mercury. And so this process of organizing our thoughts, is from the Gemini mercurial perspective is like, yeah, organizing. Virgo side, yeah, just a little bit more organized. From the Aries side, it's more like, I really feel like I want to say something, blah, and there it is. Mercury in Aries, being driven by this Mars in Aquarius. What is it that we want to share with one another? That is, after all, where Mars, the ruler of Aries, is right now, saying, if you're going to talk about something, we should all be in, privy to what it is that we're considering. And I'm, even as I'm saying privy, I'm thinking not everybody necessarily is going to be on board, because Aquarius is about that investigation process into what is it that we're all, hopefully, possibly, on a wavelength that has similarity to it. Oh, we better get into this week before I get too carried away. Monday comes and our moon is striding forth. I went through the moon stuff last week, a little bit more so than normal. And sometimes you just got to grab a hold of that, that cheese being out there surrounding us. Days of childhood, the moon and cheese. Yeah. Okay. This week's dance along celestial lines on this very same day, Monday, starting the week. Venus, right here, you see, is at 29 degrees, 41 minutes of Aquarius. So on this day, Monday, it's going to shift into Pisces. And in Pisces, it's called exalted. That's, an ancient Hellenistic thing. And basically, it just means that while Venus is in Pisces, it's doing the happy dance. It's, quite delighted to engage in the Piscean dance. The process of Venus. How inspired is my artistic expression going to be? Venus in Pisces. Am I going to be able to tune into that dreamscape potential and, find something that I can express through my tools and vehicle that are going to be creative with no limitations of that imaginary side? Also, Venus is about how we get along with one another. There's that Libra side of it. Venus and Pisces. Could you fall in love at this time? Oh, yes. But keep in mind, the imagination can play tricks on you. So falling in love right now while Venus is in Pisces, it has potential to lead one astray, shall I say? Is the light that's shining on the experience that you're contemplating coming through rose-colored glass and casting a hue over the experience before you that may not be everything that you think it is? Venus in Pisces. Enjoy it. Allow that creative imagination to, still be aware, because Venus is, after all, besides the ruler of Libra, is also the ruler of Taurus, where we have some stuff going on down here. Jupiter sneaking up on Uranus. What is it that you might hope is a predictable outcome? And yet you get these inkling feelings like, is it real? Is this thing that I see, possibly in Uranian fashion, erupting before me, actual? Or from that Venus in Taurus perspective, is it my imagination playing tricks on me? And if it's playing tricks on me, is it playing tricks on anybody else? The moon, I just went to Tuesday, by the way, is working its way. It's almost all the way through Pisces. I mean, Aries right now. Wednesday's an interesting day. We start out with the moon very, at 9 degrees of Taurus, so that during this day, it's going to move, let's say 12 or 13 degrees, which means that it's going to cross over both Jupiter and Uranus. And one of the things, energy, picture this. Cable car, San Francisco. You want to be at the bottom or the top of the hill. And the way to get there is hop on the cable car. Okay. Well, the cable car takes you from one place to another. Well, the moon in this Wednesday scenario, which by the way is a mercurial day, is going to pick up a Jupiter character and translate, is what's known in astrology. It's going to translate that energy from this part of Taurus to this part of Taurus. In other words, this moon is going to carry the energy of Jupiter, how big can I be, into the realm of Uranus. What is it that's going to happen that I may not have expected? And the moon, you should potentially sense or feel that kind of energy. It's like, moon holding hands with Jupiter. How big can I feel? How engaged am I going to be in this experience of this process? And all of a sudden, there's a good Uranian phrase, all of a sudden, that Jupiterian energy bumps into Uranus on the wavelength of the moon, and you feel like, what the heck happened? I wasn't expecting that. And then, hey, life's an adventure. And so this experience of adventureness that you're going through is asking you, when I set my intentions for this particular lunar dance in Pisces this month, creative imagination was percolating big time. So, in that percolation, setting my intention for, a dreamscape that had no limits, might this moon, after all, it is a lunar dance that we're talking about here, might this moon, thinking large as it uses Jupiter dance, suddenly be spun in directions that it hadn't anticipated as it's holding hands with Uranus on its way by, saying, many things it could say here. Taurus is the land of, resources and values and worth. Is it conceivable that some of those factors might be shaken a little right now? Spun through the dreamscape in ways that we may have imagined it could go, when all of a sudden, somebody turned out the lights or the direction shifted. This wasn't where I was headed. These are the kind of energies at work this week. And let's just keep on going through the week. If we see that the sun right here is sneaking up on Neptune, and by the end of the week, that is exactly what's going to happen. You can see the moon. Moon has slipped past this cadre scenario where it's just done this dance through all these different planetary energies, gone into Mercury turf. And our Mercury's in Aries, We might be feeling just a little bit more adventurous. This is Friday after all. What kind of adventures do you have planned for this weekend? this next weekend. This last weekend, I went and picked up some more coastal redwoods to plant on my property. It is an adventure. Thinking, wow, I'm contemplating putting these trees into the ground that, have a life cycle in the hundreds of years. Speaking of, back to our time factor, that was, opening up to, speaking of time, as we get into the end and our moon right now, as we get into this latter part of the week, on Friday, the moon is going to go once more out of bounds. Can you sense a shift in the energy quotient for this upcoming weekend? The moon, how I feel, tuned in with Mercury. What do I want to say? And do I have the capacity to hold it back? Not likely. While Mercury dances through Aries, is that going to be the case? So as you make your way through this weekend's dance with an out-of-bounds moon, make sure to, if you can, attempt to think before the words slip off your tongue into polite or otherwise conversation that is about, we've got this energy from this Friday, Venus Day, by the way. Dreamland is still in play. Who might I fall in love with this weekend? And how long will it last? The moon in Gemini says, I don't really care how long it lasts. It's about the adventure. It's about stimulating that level of curiosity as to, what else is there? And, just to add something else into the weekend, Saturday, kind of see our sun here slipping into holding hands with Neptune. That's solar vitality. We've come to Sunday. How has your weekend gone? That vital solar energy is asking you, are your experiences essence of the dreamscape of Neptune? Has the theoretical limits of your creative imagination been tickled enough? Have you wandered far enough afield to discover things about your life walk that you are on? I'm just going to do a short one for this week because that feels appropriate. So enjoy the dance this week. We've got that moon going through. Also, let's go back to that chart. I think there's one more thing here about the week. Oh yeah, since this is Sunday, we've reached that first quarter of the moon's dance, crisis in action. Oftentimes when the first quarter moon is reached, you look around, at what you set in motion and you say, Seems like there's an awful lot of things on my plate related to what it was that I set in motion. And do I have the capacity to actually accomplish all of them? Likely not. We're talking that Aries energy that's being stimulated right now. It's going to be stimulated a lot more next week as we have the spring equinox. It's coming. That sun shifting across that 0 degrees Aries line. The tropical spring equinox. A new dance, a new awakening, a new seed moment is being presented to us this next week. Something that is seeking to be born is asking for our attention. I will get into that next week, not today. So, adios, ciao, sayonara. See you all later.